Here's the reason why we need to care about this stuff, Nicole, is that we have some big picture stuff coming down the pike starting on January 21st. Mr. Bloomberg mentioned H5N1. That I'm really worried about. It's all over wild birds on the western part of the United States and going up in the north. It's getting into the poultry. We're seeing sporadic human cases, no human-to-human transmission yet, but that could happen. It's in the cattle, it's in the milk, and that's just the beginning. We have another major coronavirus likely brewing in Asia. We've had SARS in 2002, SARS-2, COVID-19 in 2019. And we know these viruses are jumping from bats to people thousands of times a year. But there's still more. We know that we have a big problem with mosquito-transmitted viruses all along the Gulf Coast, where I am here in Texas. So we're expecting dengue and possibly Zika virus coming back, or a Puche virus, maybe even yellow fever. And there's more. Then we have all this sharp rise in vaccine-preventable diseases going up because of, in part, the anti-vaccine activism that's so prominent right now. We have a 5-fold rise in pertussis cases, whooping cough over the last year, 15 measles outbreaks this year. We've got polio that's been in the wastewater in New York State. All that's going to come crashing down on January 21st on the Trump administration. We need a really, really good team to be able to handle this.
All right, 31 past the hour, live from Studio 6B on a Thursday night, December 5th. Slick's doing sports. Delgado's here. Kevin Downey Jr. is here as well. Aaron and Fran holding it down as always. Please welcome into the show no one better to comment on that gaslighting than the chief scientific officer over at the Wellness Company. That's our friend Dr. Peter McCullough. Welcome him back to the show. Dr. McCullough, how are you?
Thank you. Good.
I mean, is that a wild clip? I mean, what do we do about these guys like this guy who just continue to gaslight and try to use these scare tactics and say, oh, this is all coming down on the 21st when President Trump takes office? I mean, what do you make of that clip?
His eyes were like saucers. He was so juiced up with all of these viral threats in his mind. And then to lay it down and say it's all going to happen the day Trump takes office. You can tell what the agenda here is, that there is an agenda of fear being pushed by the vaccine lobbyists to constantly keep Americans in fear about the next viral threat so they can hold power. And because they know in their minds that the only thing they'll offer is more vaccines. That's what has them so juiced up.
Yeah. Crazy clip. Well, we have a much clearer picture now than I think the last time you were on the show of some of the appointments that President Trump has put up. I want to go through a couple of them with you. And I think last time we may have spoken about RFK, but let's talk about it again, certainly based on what you just said. Obviously, Big Pharma is saying they're going to spend aggressively against him. You see some weak Republicans already on Pete Hegseth. Who knows what's going to happen on RFK? Do you think RFK gets confirmed?
You know, it's going to be a David versus Goliath situation. So Robert F. Kennedy, who has broad content knowledge as an attorney, a healthcare advocate, make America healthy again. His interests are things from environmental, like the water, the food supply, biopharmaceuticals, safety. So he's going to have the big food lobbyists and the junk food lobbyists, which is big business, directly against him, the pharmaceutical industry against him, the vaccine industry, academic medicine, who's in bed with Big Pharma. And we've already heard from Scott Gottlieb, former FDA commissioner, who's on the board of Pfizer, promoting Pfizer vaccines on CNBC. Well, guess what Gottlieb said? He's going to lobby the senators himself to try to convince them to sink Kennedy's nomination. You can imagine what the rest of the cabal will do. Hotez in that piece said that RFK is going to kill Americans, and then the food lobby is going to be after him. So if RFK is not confirmed, it will be a prima facie example of corruption that's widespread through Washington from all of these special interests.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing, the same feeling I have on Pete Hegseth over at Defense. It's like, if you don't draw the line in the sand and say, hey, these are my guys, and I'm going to stand for them. If they get one, They go for everybody. They're going to go for everything. It's going to go from going for the people. Then they're going to go after the policy. There's going to be you give them an inch, they're going to take the whole thing. So sticking with that, let's just go through some of the other places. CDC, former Congressman Dave Weldon, another guy who's willing to buck the trend. How important is he going to be?
I'm going to hold back on any commentary on the doctors. So that would be Welton, Bhattacharya, Macri, because I'm a doctor myself, and the senators will be listening carefully, and I'm more senior to all of them in the kind of clinical and academic world. But let me just say that Americans in each one of these positions will have expectations. For the CDC, I can tell you right now, Americans want to see the COVID vaccines pulled off the market. They want to see a safety reexamination of the COVID-19 vaccine childhood schedule, and they want to see removal of the liability protections for vaccine companies. That would be on the CDC. FDA, people want to see a clear recall of the COVID-19 vaccines, and they want to understand what has happened in this whole world of corrupt practices within the FDA and big pharma. They want to see restrictive covenants. When people leave the FDA, they can't be like Scott Lieb and go out and sell Pfizer vaccines and curry favor to the companies while in office. And at the National Institutes of Health, Americans want to see biolabs, these dangerous labs creating the viruses that Hotez was speaking about. They want to see them removed from their communities.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you to comment on the personnel then. Obviously, like you said, Dr. Marty Makary over at the FDA, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who obviously has been very outspoken, was kind of on an island by himself out there to see him now. But let's talk about what you just said a little further, and that is the banning of pharmaceutical advertising directly to consumer. Do you think that's a step in the right direction?
I do. I think that would be up for the FDA. And HHS, there's currently some legislation in motion in the United States, and I recently interviewed on my show Allie Cook, and similar legislation is in motion in New Zealand. The United States and New Zealand are the only ones who allow this deceptive, confusing advertising. It got really bad with COVID vaccines, where HHS, largely our CDC, was advertising COVID vaccines, and the Ministry of Health in New Zealand was doing the same thing. All of that should be banned.
We're speaking with Dr. Peter McCullough. Of course, he's the Chief Scientific Officer over at the Wellness Company. You can go to twc.health/voice, twc.health/voice. The gold standard prescription kits are over there. Again, whether you're going to the beach, whether you're going overseas, they've got one for you. twc.health/voice. Dr. McCullough, always appreciate your time. Thank you very, very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
All right.